Starting Tech News Weekly in 3, 2, 1.
Hey everybody, welcome to Tech News Weekly. I'm your host, Andrew Zarin, and with me in studio today is none other than John Bubb. How you doing, John?
Hey, what's up? I'm here in studio for a change.
You're in Queens.
Yeah.
I don't know how we're pulling this off because I'm in the same seat, but you're also in the same seat. So this is some magic stuff happening here.
Well, you're just so much shorter than I am, so people just can't see you in that shot. So
It's an illusion.
Yeah.
It doesn't total. Hold on. I could actually.
I mean, we're literally right next to each other. It's just that between you just get that illusion between the shots that you can't see us in each other's shot.
We've actually managed to figure this out too. So for people listening to this, I'm sorry. You're gonna have to download this, but look what we could do. Okay, we could fade into. We could just fade in and fade out. Look at that.
That's creepy.
Yeah. So how you doing, John?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
We haven't done a show in a couple of weeks. Last week we were ready to do the show, and it was like 3:05, and I'm like, okay, we're gonna start recording, and we lost power.
Literally 30 seconds before we were gonna record.
Totally lost power, and it turns out the reason why we lost power is because a drunk driver hit the light post, hit the electric post up the couple blocks away.
Wow.
And everything was running on one phase. So that's why half the house had power and half the house didn't. Because only one phase was coming in. Yeah, so it took them a couple hours actually to fix it. Initially, they had said it would be fixed by 9 o'clock, but around 6:30, the power came right back up.
Cool.
So, yeah, so...
well, at least it wasn't too long then.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it could have been a lot worse, honestly.
Yeah.
But it sucks when that happens, but that's why we're doing the show today, and I'm throwing my pens around.
Could have been in August when it's 90 degrees.
You know, that has happened. We used to get brownouts here a lot, and they stopped like a couple years ago, like maybe like 10 years ago, like the power stopped going out. I think after that big power outage that we had on the Northeast in 2002, I think the electric company here was like, okay, we got to make sure that this doesn't happen, especially during the summer. So these brownouts are not happening in New York City as much as they used to. But I'm glad I'm here. I'm glad you're here. I'm glad the audience is here. If you're listening on any number of our services or watching on any of the services that we're on, you can go to gfqlive.tv, join the chat room there. We have a good group of people in there. Nikki, Movie Buff, Brian Monroe's there, Swamp Rat. A bunch of people are in there. They're chatting away, and they're going to be talking about the news that we're going to be reporting today. But before I go into that, I want to ask you guys, if you had $2,000, right? Someone gave you $2,000. What would be the computer that you buy? I'm getting ready to buy a new MacBook Pro. And I'm debating if I should get a MacBook Pro or I should get something else. I don't know what to do. What would you do, John? $2,000, you need a laptop. What are you buying?
Are you specifically talking about a laptop?
Yes.
I have no idea. Because it's one of those things when you look at laptops, there's so many of them that are out there that are just so cheap and junky that it's just so hard because there's so much different hardware out there between models and manufacturers that you really have to look at each one individually. I mean, you might, for something like what you're doing, if you want something that's on the higher end, maybe look at something like an Alienware.
Yeah, some people are saying Surface 3. Some people are saying MacBook Pro. I'd get a high-end desktop PC, maybe a larger monitor. I don't know if I'm going to get another MacBook, and I'll tell you why. I am not happy with the I'm going to get so much crap for this, but I've had two MacBooks. One was a MacBook, one was a MacBook Pro. Every one of them has I've had to replace them because a component has failed on them. I don't understand why the components are failing, but this is 2 times that they failed. And, I mean, they failed after 3 years, so, I mean, I was replacing it anyway, but it sucks that I don't have a secondary, laptop because I've had to replace them because they failed.
Right.
And not because, I chose to get a new one. So, I don't know. I'm in the middle right now.
In a way, I think that's just something that you have to expect with laptops and hardware these days. Is I just don't think there's anything. My mom bought a laptop several months ago and already had the DVD-ROM replaced on it.
Yeah. It's the cheap components that they're putting in these things.
Absolutely.
I mean, the likelihood is that I'm probably going to go with a MacBook Pro, but for
somebody like you definitely need to get something that's portable, I think.
Yeah, do I get an Air? Or here's the other thing. Do I wait until Apple refreshes or revises their current lineup? Because we were talking about this on Wednesday, actually on Thursday, because we did What the Tech yesterday. I have a serious issue with the bezels on these things. They're gigantic. They're huge bezels. There's no reason why a bezel should be that big on a laptop in 2014.
Right.
I just don't understand why. You could get another inch out of this. Maybe, I mean, honestly, you could probably make this a 14.5-inch display and keep the same form factor, same size, but you're getting more screen real estate, which I would love. But no. It's this weird looking bezel on this thing.
Well, it is the end of May, and WWDC is coming up in practically 2 weeks. So
is it really?
I mean, look, it's May 23rd, and they usually do it around June 10th, I think, around that time.
So we're gonna have to do a special.
So it's 2-3 weeks away.
This is messed up. Okay.
That looked really weird.
Yeah, no double box today. I can't do a double box. Because I didn't set up the double box. I forgot that you're on a different camera right now. So it's going to be like this the entire time. There you go. All right, John.
People might believe that.
Yeah, why don't you go into a story?
So you mentioned the Surface 3. Let's talk about that because that was kind of a big item this week. So you kind of went there as well. You had a meetup in NYC in the city. And you actually got to play around with the new Surface 3. What was your opinion on it?
I did. So I played around with it for like a good hour. I got some, hands, demos and stuff like that. I have to tell you, it is a very impressive machine. Really quick. The model that I had was an i5. The display is stunning. This is the closest to being a, official laptop replacement out of these hybrid devices. This is probably the best hybrid device there is right now because of the screen size. It's a 12-inch display. They could probably squeeze in another inch on that thing if they, thin it out a little bit on the sides. The keyboard is nice. It's really fast. It's a great device. Now the problem is the pricing. I think it's a little pricey.
Yeah, the base model starts, I believe, at $799 and goes all the way up to about $2,000 if you want the i7.
Yeah, and add the smart cover and add the mount. The stand.
You can pre-order it now, but I believe it comes out next month. It's when they start shipping.
Yeah, June 20th.
June 20th. Yeah.
Listen, it's a great looking device. The problem is the PC market, the consumer has been conditioned to not think of PCs as premium devices. And it sucks to say that because there are so many nice laptops on the market, so many nice PCs on the market, but people that go into Best Buy or people that go into whatever store, the Micro Center, they're buying whatever's on sale. They're buying whatever the deal of the week is. Nobody's going in there and buying high-end machines on a regular basis. That's not happening in the PC world. The average price of a Windows laptop, I think the average sale price is like $499 or like $525.
But you also have different demographics. And I think those people that just walk into a Best Buy and buy whatever's on sale are the type of people that are just looking for, the $600 laptop that'll last them to maybe 3 years, and then they'll buy a new one.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not the premium market. PC consumers are not buying premium devices. Think about the sales of these higher end Ultrabooks, these Lenovo's that are $1,600, $1,700, $1,500. It's a very small fraction of the market for PC sales.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think if you want a decent laptop,
device.
You need to spend, over $1,000.
Yeah, and listen, it's a premium device. I understand that, but when the Apple audience is kind of conditioned to go into the store and they know they're going to get out $1,500. They're going to buy a laptop, and they're going to spend $1,500, and they're going to leave because in their minds
that's
it's
the
a premium
starting price
device.
for anything.
Yeah. In the PC side, that doesn't exist. So you're going to market this as two things. You can't market it as a tablet because people that are buying tablets are not going to buy this thing. So you have to market it as a laptop.
I don't think it's also a fair comparison necessarily because you're talking about one manufacturer that makes several Apple products, whereas you have several manufacturers making PCs.
You do. No, absolutely.
Devices. So I think you have, in a way, much more competition in that sense, where you have much more people vying for that demographic than you somebody that's just looking at Apple.
See, I understand why Microsoft has to put this device out. I totally understand that. They have to put it out to kind of set a standard for the OEMs to follow.
Right.
I mean, that's the problem. It's a disaster for the OEMs. They're putting out subpar components in these devices. The trackpads on these touch. It's Windows 8 is so touch centric, and this is my problem with Windows 8. It's not necessarily the operating system. I actually really enjoyed using Windows 8.1 on the Surface 3. And you know how I feel about Windows 8, but it was night and day compared to what I've experienced on a laptop. Because guess what? Microsoft is making the hardware and the software, so they're able to fine-tune this thing to work properly. Every touch device that I have used Windows 8 on that is not a Surface, my experience has been, Lenovo comes close, but nobody else could even touch it. It's the trackpads that drive me insane. I
think it's hilarious that you bring up Lenovo because my mom, when she was shopping for a new laptop, was actually trying out a Lenovo. She tried it out for 2 weeks and changed over to an HP because she didn't like the Lenovo.
Was it a ThinkPad or was it a IdeaPad?
I don't even remember.
It was probably an IdeaPad.
It might have been.
I have an IdeaPad here. It's a lower end. It's an IdeaPad S405. I actually paid a lot of money for this thing considering it's not a really high-end machine, but it was like a couple $100, and the trackpad on this thing is much better than most, but it is still crap when you compare it to a MacBook Pro. Compare it to any of the Apple products. The trackpad on the Apple products is it's like butter. Why have we not seen this on every single PC that's put out on the market? There's no excuse. I don't care how much you're going to tell me that this trackpad costs. It's all baloney. You're literally talking about a few cents here and there. If you have a laptop on the market over $600-700, there's no excuse why the trackpad has to be crap. I understand on a netbook. I get that. I totally get that. But when your product is $700, $800, $1,000, I just used a $1,400 Dell a friend of mine has. I couldn't navigate with the trackpad. It was atrocious. This is the problem with Windows 8. Now, if I'm spending $1,400, $1,500, I'm buying a PC, I'm going to buy the Surface because I know it works. But does a consumer know it works? Probably not.
No.
They don't understand that. The OEMs are doing more damage to Microsoft than they think they are, because if I'm going to the store and I'm using Windows 8 and I'm like, I don't understand why I can't click here. Why can't I do? Because everything is, two fingers gesturing. You got to do 2-finger scrolling and 3-finger scrolling. Why isn't it working? Oh, Windows 8 sucks. Nobody's thinking, well, the trackpad on this Acer is garbage because I paid $200. It's a crazy thing for me to obsess over, and people think I'm crazy that I obsess over the trackpads. But the trackpad is far more important than the keyboard. It really is. I
don't disagree with you. It's one of those things where here's my problem with the Surface Pro 3 is who they're trying to target with this device. I just don't necessarily think that it's a large market. I think there is people out there that are looking for a device like this. This is not a competitor to the iPad. A lot of people want to compare this to an iPad or one of the many other $200 Android tablets that are out there. Yeah. It's not even in the same league. It's not even for the same purpose as an iPad or Android tablet, excuse me. They're just not, they're built for completely different things. iPads and Android tablets are built for consumption. This Surface Pro 3 is built for people that want to actually do things, that actually are looking for a laptop/tablet replacement. People that carry a tablet and a laptop with them that would rather just carry one sort of device. And this comes the closest that we've ever seen of any device to do that. The problem I have with it is that it's just the perception that people have where they want this to be an iPad. And Microsoft doesn't have a Surface that's aimed for people that are interested in a device like an iPad.
Yeah.
They were supposed to.
RT,
and this is the problem, is that they call this, what was the name of the event? Something, a small event or something like that.
It's a small event. Yeah, it's small event.
Which was a hint at they were going to unveil this Surface Mini.
Well, they were up until last Thursday. It was a Surface Mini announcement. So think about how close
to Paul Thurrott.
According to Paul and I believe Mary Jo Foley, this was a Surface event until late Thursday night. Surface Mini event, and they pulled it at the last minute. They decided that this device is not ready to go to market for whatever reason. I've heard rumors of supply chain issues. I've heard a couple other issues with it, but this is
that they're revamping Windows 8 and RT to work differently.
And they are. I mean, listen, RT and Windows Phone are going to be kind of merged into one ecosystem as far as what I could understand, and that is the right way to go about this device, because you have to set a distinct separation between what RT is and what Windows 8 is. Windows 8 and RT, even though they look the same, are not the same exact thing. And the consumer does not understand that, yes, I have a desktop here. Why can't I download Skype from my desktop? Why can't I go into Google? Why can't I download Chrome and start, changing my task manager or whatever the hell people on Windows do now? That's what you guys do, right? You guys skin your task manager. And you go to MS and then you go to MS config. And you turn off a processor during startup.
But I think it's disappointing that they didn't unveil a mini, because I think that's something that's missing in their lineup. And now they kind of had that perception problem. I think from a consumer standpoint, that consumers see that Microsoft doesn't build tablets for consumers. They don't have a iPad competitor. They have an enterprise corporate tablet that's aimed at a laptop replacement.
It is an enterprise device.
It's not. This is not a device that's meant for consumers. It's really not. Consumers should not buy this. It's way overpriced for most consumers.
Should they care?
And I think Microsoft is missing it. I kind of understand some of the reasons that are floating around about why they delayed it or aren't introducing the Surface Mini just yet. I understand that, but at the same time, it's like BlackBerry where they said, yeah, we're coming out with all these great new devices, and we've had to delay this device several times now for several different reasons, and it ends up becoming vaporware, and people just end up not caring anymore. So that by the time they do come out, it's going to be like BlackBerry 10. When they finally come out with BlackBerry 10, when they come out with the Surface Pro Mini, nobody's really going to care. It's going to be like 2 years too late.
So here's something that I also heard a lot of. A lot of people were complaining during this event on Twitter, and the people that I spoke to, and these are enthusiasts. These are not average, what did they put out? I don't care type people. Most people are complaining that this device should not have come out. What Microsoft should be doing is coming up with lower end devices that actually work well, like the Chromebooks, to kind of compete with the Chromebook, because according to a lot of people are buying Chromebooks. Now, I have not run into one person with a Chromebook. I've seen weird, crazy statistics that, really high numbers for Chromebook sales. People are buying this thing all around. I don't know one person that has a Chromebook, but it is something that they should be a little concerned with, or the OEM should be concerned with as well. When HP, which is a PC maker, they make all their money on the PC sales when it comes to computers. They don't make money from Linux. Has designed a very attractive Chromebook for $199. That's a problem. Not because you're getting a lot of performance out of this thing, but because if I'm looking to buy an entry-level computer for my mom or for my kid, I got a 6-year-old kid, I don't want to spend $499. You put this thing in front of me, and you're like, look, it's a Google laptop. Oh, I know what Google is. Oh, okay, so you're telling me that it's limited? They can't get a virus on this thing, and they could only use certain applications and do certain things? Okay, $200, I'm in. That's a problem. Yes, they don't compete, but it's taking sales away at that entry-level price when you have a $200 price difference.
I think that just kind of goes back to my point of Microsoft needing that iPad competitor for a tablet. I'm not saying they shouldn't be doing these Surface Pro. I think they also need to be doing both devices. They need to have a lower end. They also need to have that enterprise end. Right now they have the enterprise end, and I think it's probably a really great device for those people in the enterprise world. But they don't have anything really, Microsoft hardware-wise, that competes for the lower end.
Yeah.
That competes for consumers. They're missing the consumers right now. And they have that whole issue with Windows 8 and the perception of Windows 8 with still a lot of consumers that are like, oh, I heard Windows 8 is just really awful and I'm not really interested in it.
Yeah.
But maybe if they came out with a device that was as good as the enterprise type of device for consumers, I'm not saying it has to have all the bells and whistles like the enterprise device does, but something similar that's measurable as far as being as great as the iPad or as good as the iPad. It doesn't have to be an iPad killer. Nobody expects that anymore. These iPad and iPhone killers. That's
I don't even think it matters anymore. Listen, that terminology that we got used to was a buzzword in 2009. Yeah. That doesn't exist anymore, and it's kind of a shame that a lot of cool products came out around the time that the iPad was released and the iPhone was released, and you know what? They never took off. Look at Palm. WebOS was a great operating system, but the only reason why it really failed, I mean, they failed for more than one reason, but a huge portion of their failure for the Palm WebOS, for the Palm Pre, was that it was compared to an iPhone, and you know what? It was not an iPhone. Early Android suffered from the same exact thing, but what Android did was saturate the market with hundreds of phones.
Yeah.
And they took market share that way. They didn't try to fight them as far as features and content and ecosystem. They didn't try to fight them on that in the beginning. It was impossible. BlackBerry, another one. BlackBerry, the latest operating system, the latest phones are really good devices. But nobody cares. No one cares.
It's not like Microsoft can't do this. We've seen this, and Brian Monroe points this out. The only thing that Microsoft has is the Lumia 520 on the low end.
Microsoft doesn't have that. That's Nokia.
It's Nokia, but that's what they own now. So It's not that they couldn't do this.
Yeah.
It would be easy for them to do this.
Listen, that 520 is a great device. I think it's a great replacement for an iPhone. For an iPod Touch, it's a really, really solid device. But But Microsoft is doing something right with the Nokia stuff because they're offering not higher end, mid-level phones. They have the 1350. They have the 6 something. I forgot the latest one that they have. You buy them unsubsidized for a couple $100. Not a problem. It doesn't cost a lot, and you get an experience in that ecosystem. It allows you to purchase it. Nobody else is doing that right now. I mean, Google just started doing it, but I feel like with Google, there's enough phones on the market that people know what it is.
But I think that's proof that Microsoft, or that there can be a Microsoft device out there that's on the lower end that consumers do like. That's a good device that doesn't cost a whole lot.
Yeah. Jim brings up the 920. Yeah, the 920 is free, but that's with contract. I'm talking unsubsidized, no contract needed. You go and you buy it. You just order without having to deal with a carrier. Talking about carriers, John, why don't we go into the next story? Because this is a big, big story.
Absolutely. And this week, we've heard rumors about this past week, and this week it definitely just blew everybody out of the water that AT&T has agreed to buy DirecTV for a huge sum, $48.5 billion.
That's astonishing. That's a big sale.
That's huge.
So this would make AT&T the number 2 cable provider in the country. I guess. Yeah, it would make them number 2. They would acquire a lot of spectrum also from DirecTV. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. What do you make of this? Because DirecTV was looking to get into the internet game.
Uh, I don't really know what to make of it either because it's two companies, and I think my gut reaction is that, oh great, it's another company gobbling up another company, and we're just not going to see anything good from it. They're just going to end up taking DirecTV, taking what they want from DirecTV, and that's going to be the end of DirecTV. I think DirecTV probably has some great stuff, but I think once they get merged into AT&T, anything that was good about DirecTV is going to be lost. I think that's the fear with any sort of merger like this.
So AT&T has their own. They have Uverse, which is their own cable provider. It's their own service for television.
Uverse is awful.
I don't know much about Uverse. All I know is that like 15 years ago, I visited a relative, and I visited a relative, and they had Uverse, but that was it. I mean, nothing beyond that. I'm curious if they rebrand DirecTV as Uverse, or they kind of do it the opposite way and it just DirecTV by AT&T. What has better
Uverse
branding?
is only good if they have fiber in your area.
And by the way, they're two separate technologies. They're not the same technology.
This is what I don't get is that they market AT&T Uverse, but they have different technologies that they use to deliver Uverse. So depending on your area, it's either going to be DSL telephone type of service, or it's going to be fiber. In most cases, it's probably going to be DSL type of service. So in my area, the best I can get for internet from AT&T Uverse is 24 megabits per second.
Okay.
Which is absolutely nothing, I think, when you have Comcast that offers tiers up to 300 megabits per second.
Yeah, but what happens with direct? I mean, if you were to envision what they're going to do, what would you say that they would do? What would you guess?
Apparently, I guess the big point in this merger is that AT&T really wants the NFL package that DirecTV has, and they have apparently in the agreement it hinges on exactly that, where it says that if DirecTV cannot renew the NFL package that they have, that AT&T is free and clear to not go through with the merger.
Yeah, but the other thing is there has to be approval for this merger, for this acquisition. And we saw what happened with T-Mobile. Do you think AT&T will run into the same exact thing? Because the T-Mobile thing I kind of understand because it's in the same industry, but
I mean, it's so hard to say. I think because you bring up a good point, because really all you have for a satellite TV service is either DirecTV
or Dish.
So you take one of those away. I mean, I don't know. See, it's what is AT&T's plans? Are they still going to continue to offer satellite service for people that
they would have to
DirecTV?
Yeah, they would have to.
Or is that something that they're going to eventually phase out within 5 years?
No, because
that's going to be the end of DirecTV satellite service.
No, they'll probably keep the satellite service because there's many people that have satellite, and the only reason why they have it is because they're in an area where they don't have cable service. A lot of people. That's why they have satellite.
I think that's what it comes down to for me, is that it's if they're going to go through with this, there has to be, I think, some assurances for people that are satellite subscribers.
Yeah,
that it's not going to end up AT&T buys them, and within 5 years, satellite service is gone, and you have to have some other service from AT&T, which would be AT&T effectively wiping out DirecTV as competition.
No,
from
Dish. I think they'll. If I were to guess, they're going to keep DirecTV the way it is. Maybe they'll rebrand the name to Uverse. They'll just call it Uverse. Maybe. Listen, it's a lot easier for AT&T to take a satellite dish and put it on your roof than it is to run those fiber lines for Uverse. It's a whole lot easier, and it costs them a lot less. So there's a good chance that they may merge the two companies into one, where if you're not, they're still going to call you Uverse, but if you don't qualify for the fiber, you qualify for the satellite. Because think of the reach that they're going to have. We don't have Uverse in my neighborhood, but now they'll penetrate the neighborhood with Uverse, with satellite.
Right. But I think satellite is one of those things that is on its way out.
I'll tell you, John, I had satellite years ago. I had DirecTV. I knew a guy that would get me stuff for DirecTV. Let's try to read between the lines. I was young. I was actually under 18, so I guess I wasn't breaking any laws. But I would get those cards, for like every channel. Like everybody had them, and I had them for like a week. But the service was phenomenal. It looked great. I think satellite looks better than cable right now.
It does. The problem is that it's somewhat of an antiquated technology, in the sense that you have to point your dish up to something in space.
Yeah, but antennas, for example, same exact thing.
But you don't have as nearly as much lag because you're not going as far.
You know what's amazing?
The distance between an antenna and a transmitter on Earth, a radio transmitter, is not going to be nearly as long of a distance between a satellite dish and a satellite up in space orbiting Earth.
No, listen, DirecTV or Dish, one of them offers 1080p video on a couple channels. So, I mean, that's unbelievable. I think it's MPEG-4 compression. It looks phenomenal. One of my relatives has it, and I'm astonished that it's satellite. Something that the cable companies did really well in the 80s and early 90s was tell you that service on satellite is awful. If it rains, the service is bad. If it's windy, the service is bad. Nowadays, this thing is solid. I'm actually a big fan of satellite. I just, I've had cable my whole life.
Yeah.
Except for that 2 weeks that I had satellite, which was great. I used to watch Fox in LA all the time. I don't know why. Their morning show was really good. What can I tell you? John, go into another story.
Let me see here. So we're talking about all the cable companies here, and there was a new survey that was put out by I forget what, ASCI or something like that. They do this every year, and this year it's pretty much no different than last year. They say that Comcast and Time Warner Cable voted most hated ISPs in America.
Which companies? Say that again.
Comcast and Time Warner Cable,
I
which
wonder
is relevant today because Comcast is bidding to buy Time Warner Cable. So what's going to happen when the two most hated ISPs in America become one?
But they're also the two biggest ISPs in America. Let's remember that. That's why they're the hated one. But for the longest time, Comcast had really crappy internet, and now, John, not bad with Netflix. I mean, you told me your experience with Netflix last week, so why don't you go into that because you have Comcast?
They fixed it, and I've said this numerous times on Tech News Weekly that I could not watch Netflix whatsoever. And it wasn't until probably the last 2 or 3 weeks that I can now finally watch Netflix without it not going into SD, horrible SD. Like, I was only able to play at 480p, and it would probably buffer half the time.
And that's insane.
And now I can actually get 1080p within probably 45 seconds of starting to play something, which is a complete turnaround. So obviously there was something going on there. Obviously.
Yeah. Have you watched like any of the other services? Because I'll give you an example. I never noticed that I had issues with Verizon, with DirecTV, with Netflix until recently. It started doing exactly what you're talking about, and I think they just signed a deal too. But I'm getting it now with the WWE Network, where it's buffering like crazy.
No,
and I've looked into it, and everybody's complaining the same thing, and they're saying, and they're all on the Verizon network.
I used to watch Amazon, or I still do watch Amazon Instant Video, and I had absolutely no problems with Amazon Instant Video. I was watching, I watched back all of How I Met Your Mother on Amazon Instant Video, and yes, Netflix has all 8 series, the same as Amazon Instant Video, but I could not get it to play in 1080p. Whatsoever. I could barely even get 720p playback on Netflix until recently.
I've always had really good, solid internet. I mean,
it wasn't like you can clearly. I have the bandwidth. I have the internet capable of supporting 1080p playback streaming.
I wonder. I always think like I've always had good internet. Like I've never had. I know people that are plagued with internet problems. We get the emails all the time. I mean, I've always had really good internet. One, I've always paid for a higher tier, so that has something to do with it. 2, I'm in New York City, and I want, major markets obviously get priority because it's saturated and they have to offer decent service, and they have to maintain the lines a lot more than they have to do in rural America. But I've always had a solid internet experience. But on the other hand, I know people that, viewers, friends, they have nothing but problems. Constantly they're having issues.
That's awful.
It's night and day depending on where you are and who your provider is. It's insane.
It also depends on the infrastructure in your area. A lot of times, if you don't know any better, the cable provider or the internet service provider, whoever owns the technology, the infrastructure that gets to you, they might not keep up with maintenance for it. Like when I moved here to where I live now 4 years ago, there was a lot of problems with the infrastructure in my area, and I ended up having them replace the coaxial line coming from the node in my backyard to my house. And I also had them replace components in the node itself in order to get good internet service, because I did not have that when I first moved here. There was so much noise on the line that I could barely get any internet.
But John, I remember that when you started doing shows with us, you had a lot of issues.
Yeah, I had dropouts.
Constantly.
I was getting dropouts.
Constantly.
And that was because of poorly maintained equipment in the area.
I'm having some issues now, but I think it's because of the line coming into the house. I think something happened, water got into it or something, but I'm having issues with one of the fiber lines. But Verizon is really good with the maintenance of this stuff. I've had ONTs replaced immediately. They've come out, they've swapped it. I've had nothing but a positive experience with Fios.
Verizon is on the top of that survey, by the way. Verizon and AT&T, Uverse, are at the very top of this survey, whereas Time Warner Cable and Comcast are on the very bottom.
Yeah. Since we're talking about ISPs, Google, which is in the ISP world now, is near to buying Twitch. For people who don't know what that is, John, why don't you tell them what it is? What's Twitch?
Twitch is a streaming site much like Justin TV or Daily Motion, but it's more focused for people that stream gameplay, people that play games and want everybody to see their gameplay, and they'll do commentary. It's kind of like an esports type of thing.
So Twitch, which is a parent company of Justin TV, which we are partners with. We're content partners with Justin TV.
By the way, I love their new HLS player.
Yes, they've done a really good job at that. And that's Twitch technology, by the way.
Absolutely. Which is one of my concerns with this is that, all right, so
what happens to us?
Google buys Twitch. What happens with all this great stuff that we now have? Is Google just going to assimilate it, and that's going to be the end of Twitch?
Listen,
what's their point with wanting Twitch? Are they just wanting the demographic that Twitch is built up with gamers?
All I could say, I don't have any special information on this, but all I could say is that I shouldn't be too worried. That's what was said to me. You should not be worried right now. There's nothing to worry about right now. So,
I would love it if Google would take some of the stuff that Twitch has and implement that with YouTube Live, because I think YouTube Live, there's a lot of areas there where it can be improved.
Yeah, YouTube Live is
specifically the delay. This is funny because we always talk about delay on these live streams, whereas JTV and Daily Motion and Ustream generally have around a 10 to 50 second delay, but YouTube Live, you're talking upwards of 45 seconds to a minute.
Yeah.
Which I don't understand.
Well, YouTube Live, it's interesting when they came out because they've done a very slow rollout for the service. And they've had their select people that stream, they've opened it up to select people initially, and it was lacklustered by the content. The content was not that great. Right now even now that it's open to everybody, the content is still lackluster. There's nothing really big happening for a couple of reasons. One, they don't really support 24/7 streams. Two, their terms of service is really convoluted to the point that I've asked them 1,000 times, can I have live reads on my show? Because they say there's no third-party ads, and anything outside of the YouTube spectrum is a third-party ad. So I don't know. I don't know if I could stream on there. Number two, yes, they have a huge ecosystem. The people that go on YouTube is in the millions, the numbers, and the people that just drive-by hits will happen, but for some reason it's not converting over to YouTube Live. Right. It's really not. by acquiring a company like Twitch, or I don't know if Justin TV's involved in the sale. I don't know anything in that regard, and I don't think anybody knows other than the two parties. This is a nice step for YouTube to take to do it right, to see a proven model, and to kind of get in there. And to, the esport world is great. So are they going to have Twitch powered by YouTube or powered by Google? I don't know. Or do they kill the entire thing and just acquire the technology and incorporate it into whatever they're doing? Really, there's not too much technology in what they're doing. YouTube has the servers. They have the pipes to do this on their own. They're probably just buying it for the name.
They probably are, but that is one of the things that I think they could easily do is this esports stuff, and that is kind of an emerging market, an emerging streaming service. And YouTube have these YouTube live spaces. They have these incredible spaces with studios and broadcast quality cameras and editing suites, and they could easily do some esports type of stuff in a very good broadcast quality manner.
I'm having a problem. I can't get to Justin TV.
Oh no.
Are you having that problem?
It's the end of the world.
Isn't that weird? No, I got there. I guess they had like a little server glitch. I'm having some weird problems with certain websites. I don't know what's going on here. Something weird is going
net
on.
Neutrality.
I don't know. Something weird is going on because I could not log into TeamViewer yesterday, and they told me that I had no internet connection, which I did. Yesterday, you couldn't upload to YouTube.
Yeah, that was weird.
I don't know what's going on here, guys. That is weird. But listen, I don't know if this is a bad thing or a good thing. I know a lot of people are freaking out over the purchase, and they're saying, "Oh, well, this is bad. This can't be good. What are we gonna do?" But this may not be an awful thing, guys. This may be a positive. We saw what happened to companies like Stickum, where Stickum was number one when it came to live streaming, when it came to online community, and because they did not have an acqui-hire or they didn't have any kind of major company like a YouTube to come in and buy them out, they totally went under. They were bigger than Justin TV.
I still miss Stickam. I really do.
I think a lot of people do.
It's going to have that nostalgia factor for a lot of people, I think.
But you know why? Because they had the concept of community done right. None of the other sites were doing community like they were doing it. Justin TV is Justin TV has a decent community now. Vaughn does a decent job of community, but nobody else really had the level of Stickum when it came to the community and building, based on that.
Which is kind of sad.
Yeah, which is kind of sad to see. Do you have any more stories, John, or do we go into picks?
We can go into our picks.
Okay. This is a portion of the show where we talk about a product, a website, a whatever that comes to mind, and we talk about it. I will go first this week. So I have a problem with screenshots, okay? I can't take a screenshot of a website because my screen is a little too small. So whenever I need a screenshot done of a website, like the entire website, I have to get John to do the screenshot for me. I'm like, John, can you do a screenshot of this website? And it's annoying because my screen is 13 inches, so I could only see a certain amount of stuff on my screen. I downloaded an add-on called Awesome Screenshot for Chrome. Let me pull it up here, actually.
They have this for Firefox too, by the way.
There we go. So it's for Firefox also. It works really well. It's a little add-on here. You click on it, and it says you want to capture a visible part. You want to capture the select area, the entire screen, select the local image. So what's the premium? Let me see what the premium is. Oh, capture desktop. You could do a desktop capture for premium service, but it's absolutely free, and it works really well. Out of all the screenshot software that I've used in the past, this is the one that I really liked. I know you use it also, John, right?
Yeah, this is the screenshot application that I also use as well for taking screenshots of websites. And it works so well because the two big things that I really like about this is the fact that, again, you either take a screenshot of just a portion that is viewable, or I can take a screenshot of the entire web page. So a lot of times you have a web page where you have to scroll down to see the rest of the web page, right? Well, if you're trying to take a screenshot for a client and you actually need to see the entire website for them, this will actually scroll the website and take the entire picture of the entire website, which is really handy. You're not going to find that with most other applications. You'll only be able to select maybe what you can see on your screen, but you won't be able to scroll, which is really annoying if you need to see everything on a screen, even if it scrolls.
Yeah, and also you could crop it afterwards too, and they give you the option to crop the screen. So when you save it, you could actually modify certain parts. I actually really enjoyed it. I did a bunch of them yesterday, and I was playing around with it. It does a great job. The only weird thing is if you're trying to screen capture like a Facebook page, right? So I was trying to screen capture the pages on Facebook for businesses and brands. What it does, it starts scrolling, and Facebook doesn't stop scrolling, so it'll actually scroll and scroll and scroll until you stop it.
Oh, the whole infinite scroll problem.
Yeah. So that was my problem, but that's not their issue. It's Facebook. But that's my pick of the week.
By the way, you can also save images temporarily on Awesome Screenshots. So if you just want to share it really quickly with somebody, it'll save to their servers for 30 days, and you can just send everybody that link. And that way you don't have to worry about saving it, uploading it somewhere where people can actually see it.
That's actually really good. It's actually really good. That's my pick. I thought it was a good one. I thought it was
that's
a good one.
That's the best pick you've ever had.
Yeah, it's handy. I think a lot of people use it. What's your pick of the week?
My pick of the week is actually it's called the Campapella. This is a really hard word for me to say. Campapella meteor shower, and I know I'm just butchering the name of that. It's pretty cool. It's this new meteor shower that a lot of scientists and astronomers are very excited about because they say that these could be one of the best meteor showers you could ever see. They're predicting up to 200 meteors per hour, and this is something that you can actually watch tonight here in the United States, where a lot of times you might not necessarily get the chance to here in the United States. We're expecting really good clear skies here in Michigan, so I'm very excited about this. But if you happen to live in an area where it might be cloudy or you're not going to be able to see these, you can go to space.com, and they have links to the SLU Community Observatory, where they're going to have live streams of this Comet 209P that'll have the meteor shower. This is where it's coming from. It's from a comet, which is really cool. And it's just going to be really cool. So if you're in an area where you can't necessarily see this, or you just don't want to go stand outside trying to see these things, you can go to space.com, and they're going to have a SLU Community Observatory webcast, which is really cool. They got 2 streams. Actually, technically, they have 3. They start at 6 p.m., 11 p.m., and 1:30 a.m. Eastern. So if you want to check out this meteor shower, I'm going to try and say this again. Campapella. I know I'm just totally screwing that up. I practiced this earlier, and I just totally suck at
It's all right.
saying this. But it's the meteor shower that's happening tonight, and it's going to be really cool. So check it out.
Movie Buff says, your pick of the week should be your background.
I might do that next week.
John, it was great having you in the studio today.
Absolutely.
I still have no idea how we've managed to kind of build a replica set right across from me. If people see, John, hey.
Hey.
See? We can wave at each other. There you go. It's exactly the same. Go to our website, gfqnetwork.com. You could, hey guys, subscribe to the show. It really helps us out whenever you do that. It's a big part of us getting download numbers when you subscribe. We're everywhere podcasts are available. If you're on Android, I suggest Pocket Cast. That's my go-to app on Android. iTunes, everywhere. Also, use our Amazon affiliate link, guys. I know that a lot of you are using it. Whenever you buy something on Amazon, buy it with our Amazon link. You could do so by going to gfq.co/Amazon, or you could, if you're on our website right now, you click on the Amazon banner up top. You could click on it, and it saves it for like a couple days. John, also, we got T-shirts.
Yes.
So you want to talk about the T-shirts a little bit?
So we finally, I know a lot of people have been requesting GFQ T-shirts, and we finally have some now. We're using Redbubble. A lot of people love Redbubble. So we've got some T-shirts now on Redbubble. We have our brand new logo that we just introduced about the beginning of March, I think, mid-March.
April,
something like that. But we also offer our classic GFQ stamp logo, which is really cool. A lot of people love our old classic orange stamp logo, and so we've got that as a T-shirt too. And with Redbubble, you can also order these as hoodies, or you can also get a sticker with them.
Oh, my browser crashed.
Oh, no.
I can't see anything. Yeah, so go to redbubble.com or go to our website, and you could download it there.
You can actually, I think I made a short link for this. gfq.co/shirts.
gfq.co/shirts. Perfect. Also,
Yep.
Patreon. Patreon.com/whatthetech if you want to support the GFQ network. It's for What the Tech, but you could support, it supports everything else. And that's it. I can't see my browser, so I don't know what's going on. And I've lost all my notes. And my Mac just froze. John, say goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye.